Hey guys, it's Lauren. What am I doing right now? I am reading the contents of my new book from my iPad on my Microsoft Word app. And why am I reading it? Because I want to publish this online, like on Facebook and YouTube, because I want my followers to help me to pick out a good title for this next book. You guys helped me to pick out Lipstick and Autism, and I thank you, dear God, for that. And I want one that's really catchy, but like attractive to the non-medical world for people that aren't like me. Now, right now, I've got the title written down as Embracing Lipstick, More Lipstick and Less Autism. I thought about having More Lipstick and Less Autism as the title, and a subtitle of something like living tips for living with autism from, I don't know, something like that. And like, well, like the second part of the book, I just want to have like a like on the second page, like after the title, I want to have reviews of the book and then copyright, and then on the review page, I'd also like to sign it for those of you that want it signed. So I'm just looking right now through my table of contents, and I've got 30 tips in the content section of it and endnotes that I'm going to read to you guys, and resources which y'all can look up on your own, and I will not read that at all. There's a disclaimer notice. Do not use information in this book as a substitute for medical or psychological advice because, like you guys, I'm just a patient. I'm going to read the preface. Preface from the author. I am a high-functioning autistic person. Many people that knew me misunderstood me because I was so nervous and cried constantly at school, and because I could never understand social situations. I also suffered from symptoms of anxiety. I was never diagnosed with any form of tic disorder, but I also have tics sometimes. Anxiety disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and tic disorders are common comorbid psychiatric conditions of autism spectrum disorders. Epilepsy, gastrointestinal issues, and allergies are common physiological conditions in autism spectrum disorders. I authored a memoir, Lipstick and Autism, to share my experiences with others about what it felt like to live with high-functioning autism. In this devotional, I give advice based on the tips that I listed near the end of my memoir in hopes of helping others on the autism spectrum, although they are not listed exactly as the ones in my memoir. And some tips have been updated for this book. This advice is based on my personal experience and it may not work for everyone. There are few Christian resources about dealing with autism, and as Christians, we need to understand how their mind works. Autism is different than other psychiatric conditions because it's congenital, meaning that you are born with it. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning that it's a neurological disorder that affects the social and emotional development of a person. It is not a rare condition. It affects each person differently, and this is why it has been so difficult for researchers to identify a specific cause for the disorder. 1. Acceptance. How you made me is amazing and wonderful. I praise you for that. What you have done is wonderful. I know that very well. Psalm 139 NIRV. In our culture in the United States, psychiatric illness is a taboo topic. When I was growing up in the 1980s, people with psychiatric illnesses were considered outcast in society. Just because a person has a psychiatric illness does not mean they are less than others. I used to think that I may have done something to cause my autism and would have done anything to make myself like a normal person. I even asked my mom if she had any of the same feelings as I did. She later told me that she did. Back in 1987, when I was diagnosed on the spectrum, they did not call it autism because, in order to be autistic at the time, you had to be nonverbal, and I was verbal, but I did not talk much. I was diagnosed with what used to be called pervasive developmental disorder and given a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome when it was listed in diagnostic criteria. The doctors at Cleveland Clinic told my mom in 1987 that my problems just happened and that no one did anything to cause them. One doctor also told my mom that she would learn to appreciate stuff other parents took for granted. Mom always suspected I was different since birth, and I later learned that I did not cause any of my problems. If you or a loved one is diagnosed on the autism spectrum, just think of it as something that you have to deal with, just like someone with another disorder. 2. Be realistic and encouraging. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Proverbs 27:17 NIRV. I feel like it's important to teach realistic yet challenging goals to people on the spectrum. I faced many of these when I was younger. My mom thought I would never be able to drive because she was worried about me not being able to control my emotions. But my dad worked with me on learning how to drive, and I earned my driver's license at age 17. I had unrealistic expectations of myself and wanted to achieve certain goals because I felt that's what was needed in life to be successful. It's still taking me a long time to realize that success is not always having a high level of education like I wanted for most of my life. It took me almost 10 years to earn a bachelor's degree, and I felt like giving up many times, but I graduated in 2011. Encourage the autistic person to achieve their goals and help them to be realistic about stuff. If an autistic person wants to achieve a certain career goal and you do not feel like they are capable of doing it, offer them alternative options that provide equal or better pay and benefits instead of telling them that they cannot do something because of their autism. Job shadowing is another option. Encourage them to overcome any sensory challenges, but take baby steps and use the 3 steps backward, 2 steps forward approach when needed. Like many on the spectrum, I had my fair share of hypo and hypersensitivity to environmental stimuli. Some of these I have been able to overcome, and many still bother me to an extent. You can only do so much to get rid of sensory related issues. The urge to engage in stemming behaviors during meltdowns is a form of hyposensitivity, and I know that I may never be able to get rid of stemming during meltdowns. Appreciate small achievements, be supportive of their choices, and remember what's on the inside of a person is most important. 3. Patience. A person with a bad temper stirs up conflict, but a person who is patient calms things down. Proverbs 15:18 NIRV. If you get impatient about anything, it can cause you to make irrational decisions that can cause you to hurt an autistic child's feelings. It's easy at times to want to give up on certain goals when you feel exhausted from everything. I struggle with dealing with patience, and I have meltdowns and stemming, especially when I face situations that are unpleasant for me. There have been people who have reacted impatient with me on certain occasions, and it has resulted in extra stress for me that resulted in meltdowns and stemming. I was always very slow at getting stuff done, and it often made me look as though I were lazy and did not care when I did. If anyone tried to rush me up on completing a task, I got upset and got further behind, especially if I felt like it was too hard or if it were something I did not enjoy doing. When teaching them skills or helping them with homework, they can appear as if they are not listening or just being plain or just being lazy. They may not understand what is being told. If this happens, understand that this is all related to sensory processing issues in their brain. Your child or loved one may be slow at achieving milestones or accomplishing tasks. Sometimes you may need to take time out and evaluate if something needs to be done differently. Church. Suppose someone sees a brother or sister in need and is able to help them. And suppose that person doesn't take pity on those needy people. Then how can the love of God be in that person? 1 John 3:17 NIRV. Growing up in church, I learned the importance of biblical values. I struggle with sitting still in a church service, but read the complete Bible a few times and graduated from a Christian college. I had my share of uncontrollable meltdowns in church that embarrassed my family. Throughout history, missionaries traveled the globe spreading the gospel of Jesus to nearly every country, starting with the Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 9. The Bible is the most widely published book worldwide and has been translated into nearly every language known. If people such as the Apostle Paul in the New Testament can figure out ways to promote Christianity to normal people and God's love to normal people who don't understand it, then we should also find ways to show it to autistics. Pastors should talk about certain topics such as the end of the world differently if there are autistic people in the congregation, and find ways to make the church services sensory friendly. I used to feel terrified when I heard preachers talking about the end times. For example, one day when we were coming home from a trip, my non-autistic nephew looked over at my sister and just randomly asked if the world would end one day. I answered his question as best I could in age-appropriate ways without scaring him. I mentioned that Jesus would come back one day and that all believers will go to heaven. I explained the known benefits of heaven. I like to hang out with my cousin and her children when they come to visit my uncle. Her daughter has a form of high-functioning autism, and several times I asked her daughter if she understood religious matters. She didn't, so I tried to explain it in a way that she would understand. If you know someone on the autism spectrum, or if you see a child with autism having a meltdown, be kind. Practicing a simple act of kindness makes a difference in their lives and shows God's love. 5. Lead by example. In the Lord's hand, the king's heart is like a stream of river. The Lord directs it toward all those who please him. Proverbs 21:1 NIRV. Be a role model. Sometimes autistic kids are more observant than what it seems. I like to imitate my cousins on wearing cute clothes and wearing makeup, and in addition to hanging out with them at our family gatherings. Other times I am not so observant. I don't always notice subtle conflicts among people, and there have been times when my mom asked me if I noticed these social conflicts, and I told her that I didn't notice them. Those on the autism spectrum need a good role model too. When I was observant, I would sometimes notice other people doing things that Christians consider inappropriate. My mom admitted to me that everyone makes mistakes, and if you see someone doing something, that does not always mean it's a good thing. 6. Promises. It is not good to make a promise and not keep it. It is better to make no promise at all. Ecclesiastes 5:5 NIRV. Do your best to stick to your promises and have a plan B handy. Most autistic people are very honest about stuff. If they promise to do you a favor, they will stick to that promise even if it is completed several years later. If they don't want to do something or can't accomplish a task, they will admit it. My aunt and uncle used to visit my grandmother and the rest of the family in Kentucky several times a year. I was always good at art. When I was around 6 years old, my aunt asked me to consider drawing her a picture and coloring it. I finally did when I was in 6th grade. I am one that does not handle disappointment well. When I was told that someone would do me a favor of sorts and could not accomplish it for whatever reason, if you can't do something that your autistic loved one really wanted to do, ask someone else to do it, even though it may seem a bit rude. One time I wanted to go to an amusement park event that my family could not attend with me, and they asked someone else to go with me. It worked out great, and I felt very thankful that they asked the other person to go with me. Outside of school and work obligations, there are some exceptions to this. Some examples of this include car troubles, bad weather, and illness. 7. Don't be judgmental toward autistic people or their families. Do not judge other people, then you will not be judged. You will be judged in the same way you measure others. Matthew 7, 1 and 2 NIRV. When I was growing up, all I cared about when it came to others was how they treated me, even though there were certain qualities I admired in people. I was in therapy on and off from elementary school through my early 20s to help me with social and emotional skills. Society adopts rules that are often difficult for autistic people to follow, and it can be very stressful for them. I forced myself to have age-appropriate feelings and goals. Through the years, I researched autism spectrum disorders and other psychiatric conditions. I learned based on my experience and what I read that being judgmental towards anyone with autism spectrum disorder does not work well. These people and their loved ones already have enough on their plates and feel as if they are walking on eggshells to avoid embarrassment. Say something like, "I'm sorry you have to deal with this, and is there anything I can do to help you?" I grew up in an era where any form of autism was unknown. If a child acted up, parents were blamed for spoiling them. My mom told me as I got older that when I was in elementary school, people told her that she spoiled me. People like this do not understand autism. Times are different nowadays, and autism is more prevalent than it used to be thanks to better awareness of the condition. The Bible says that Jesus understands us and that he loves us no matter what. If you read the Bible, remember that Jesus often spent time with outsiders. 8. Remember the golden rule. In everything, do to others what you would want them to do for you. Matthew 7:12 NIRV. Any form of bullying or discrimination against anyone on the autism spectrum should not be allowed. I have seen it happen in all age groups and from all walks of life. If someone mistreats them in any way, regardless of intentions, the autistic person will react in an inappropriate manner. In the Gospels, Jesus enforces the idea of being kind to others. Autistic people may come off as being mean, but they have no intentions of being mean, and if you treat them with genuine kindness, it will be much easier for them to act socially appropriate. If someone mistreated your autistic loved one or you, it's okay to feel upset and show your emotions and let them know about it in a tactful manner. I got my feelings hurt plenty of times in my life, and it's caused me to experience severe meltdowns. One evening, I went with my sister and her daughter to a Halloween pumpkin festival near where we live, and it was severely crowded. At one point, I walked in one direction while they walked in another direction. I reached out my phone and texted my sister a question, and some man acted rude and told me to move on and quit texting when he could have cut around me. I apologized and told him that I needed to text my sister to let her know where I was. I told him that I was diagnosed on the autism spectrum and asked him to please be kind. He apologized to me. If you think you have mistreated an autistic person, whether you meant it or not, apologize. 9. Control your anger around autistic people. An angry person stirs up fights, and a person with a bad temper commits many sins. Proverbs 29:22 NIRV. Most people get angry from time to time, and it seems like it happens a lot for those who are dealing with a lot of stress. It also seems to happen more with people who have a type A personality, meaning that they are overachievers and worry about what others think of them. Let's say that you've come home from a stressful day at work and you find that your autistic child is relaxing and acting happy while watching TV and playing on their tablet. You yell at them for not getting their daily chores and homework done. They get upset and yell back at you and start crying and stimming. This is a case where anger can stir up fights and spread like a contagious virus. Family members work hard at teaching autistic kids to control their emotions. When they are angry, they will cry, stim, and yell about the situation. Anger is often a result of uncontrolled emotional stress, and it can cause people to do things that can hurt someone else's feelings. When a normal person feels angry, they will often do things that they would not normally do. When autistic people take this literally. One of my main symptoms of autism was difficulty in controlling my emotions. And if I get upset, I feel worried about a situation longer than most people do. Most of the time, I cry, stim, and vent about it. Jesus tells us in Matthew 5:21 and 22 that mistreating someone out of anger is considered to be a sin, and you will be judged for it because you are putting the other person down. That is considered to be a form of murder. If you feel angry and frustrated with your autistic child, do your best to find an alternative outlet to release your anger. You can control it. They cannot. Your reactions say a lot when an autistic child does something that may frustrate you. 10. Appreciate blunt honesty. An honest witness does not lie, but a dishonest witness pours out lies. Proverbs 14:5 NIRV. Be careful on how you approach humorous teasing around an autistic person. They interpret this literally too. People in our area like to playfully tease each other when they hang out and act different around other people. People that are on the autism spectrum react the same way all of the time except when they are upset. I was taught that I need to learn how to understand playful teasing. Respect that your autistic loved one is honest to a fault and does not even tell little white lies. We are taught the importance of being nice to others, but on the flip side, it's wrong to tell lies. If you cannot tolerate playful teasing, it's fine to stand ground and firmly admit that you do not like to be teased. As I have matured, I have learned about playful teasing and have even done playful teasing to others myself. Try to find creative and fun ways to teach them about how playful teasing works. The Bible speaks a lot about the side effects of dishonesty, and dishonesty is considered to be a sin. 11. Meltdowns. Whoever wants to show love forgives a wrong. Proverbs 17:9 NIRV. It's okay if your child or loved one has meltdowns. They are not trying to draw attention. These are the result of emotional stress and worry. Meltdowns are a temporary loss of control and are not completely preventable or controllable. That is an unrealistic goal to achieve. Be prepared to deal with them when they happen, and remember they will happen in those that are prone to them. Other chronic medical conditions flare up from time to time. Autism is no different. I see a meltdown as a flare of autism. I discovered based on my experience that stuff that can cause other illnesses to flare up can intensify or cause meltdowns. Typical stressors that normal people experience can be worse on autistic people and cause severe meltdowns. The autistic brain works different from that of a normal person, and therefore many of their thoughts and feelings will be different from that of a normal person. There are many reasons why autistic people develop feelings that cause meltdowns. Many of these issues seem irrational to neurotypical people because they do not understand. Their strong rote memory can cause them to remember most unpleasant events that can over time cause them to develop anxiety and low self-esteem. This can lead to recurrent meltdowns. I often have privileges suspended during meltdowns. When this happens, it feels like a mental form of claustrophobia that makes me want to fight to retain my privilege. Intense worry from the fight or flight mode kicks in, making these people feel very vulnerable and anxious. Punishment often makes them feel worse and will intensify and prolong the meltdowns and stimming. I was taught that it's inappropriate to cry or stim in public places, but I disagree with this. I don't feel like it's healthy for autistic people to hold in their emotions. Suppressing my meltdowns never worked for me. I read one section in a recent book about where one woman with high-functioning autism suppressed her emotions so much that she was physically sick. One way to think about a meltdown is to think about how you would react to someone with a food allergy or diabetes that knowingly ate something that would cause them problems. You would immediately get help for them. Think of meltdowns the same way, though they are treated differently. If your child has a meltdown, it's okay to feel concerned about them and guilty. If someone asks if your child is okay, thank them for asking and just say that your child is autistic and prone to meltdowns. Let your child or loved one know that they are loved and autism is not their fault. The best thing to do with handling meltdowns, based on my experience, is to let them run their course, just like a virus. When they start to feel better, the person should do something relaxing. Instead, try to listen without judging and use comments such as, "Would you like to explain why you feel this way? Is there anything I can do to help you feel better?" Comments such as, "You are too big to act like that," "You are being very rude," etc. always made me feel as if it were wrong to even have emotions over a certain event. Forgiveness is healthy for both the child and the parent. Jesus wants us to forgive each other just as he forgave those people that mocked him on the cross. The Apostle Paul wrote the majority of the New Testament and played an important role in the development of Christianity. Prior to his conversion in Acts 9, he persecuted the church. If God forgave Paul of his sins, he can easily forgive autism meltdowns because he knows those are unintentional. If your loved one is having a meltdown, control what you can and otherwise allow them to completely release their emotions. Unless a person is engaging in harmful behavior, let go of any embarrassment. This will pass. If you have any concerns about your child's meltdowns, try to identify potential triggers and consult with an experienced autism expert when needed. Jesus knows your child and understands their meltdowns more than anyone. Your child is worth more than many sparrows. Matthew 10:31 NIRV. 12. Advocate for autism. Speak up for the rights of those who can't speak for themselves. Speak up for the rights of all those who are poor. Proverbs 31:8 NIRV. Be an autism advocate. There are many ways you can be an autism advocate. Educate yourself about autism. Speak up when needed to. Go beyond your comfort zone when dealing with autism. If you have children, teach them about learning to deal with those with disabilities. Since I graduated from high school, I prayed that God would allow me to be a light for others with autism, and that prayer was answered in 2015 when I gave my first speech about my autism diagnosis at our local autism walk. I have spoken at that event yearly since then, and it's been a blessing. To be able to get others to understand what it feels like to live with autism, we need to educate the public about the condition. Teach children how to advocate for their autism when needed. When you advocate in any way for yourself or someone else with autism, you are showing strength and that you want to make a positive influence. Those that advocate for anyone with autism are truly strong and will be remembered in the end. 13. Changes in routine. I know the plans I have for you, announces the Lord. I want you to enjoy success. I do not plan to harm you. I will give you hope for years to come. Jeremiah 29:11 NIRV. Autistic people do not do well with changes in routine. If there are going to be any planned changes in routine, I would strongly recommend finding a time to tell the person ahead of time that's not too early or too late, and helping them to prepare. Some examples of changes in routine can include an assembly at school or having guests in the house. I never did well with changes in routine while at school. It always made me feel more anxious. Pleasant and unpleasant changes in routines can be a source of stress for people on the autism spectrum. If we were going on a trip that I looked forward to for months, I got excited whenever we would get to the destination. If something did not go as perfectly planned, I got upset and worried sometimes on the whole trip. As for emergencies, I would strongly recommend teaching kids how to handle common emergencies like car troubles and, of course, handling any medical conditions that they may have. Keep basic information about any medical conditions you may have handy on your smartphone or in your car in case of an emergency. If your loved one has any conditions that require keeping emergency medical supplies on hand, such as diabetic supplies, extra medicine, etc., make sure that they have those at all times and teach them what to do should they need to use them. Some examples of routine disruptions that cannot be avoided are the death of a loved one, having to pay taxes if you work, and inclement weather. So, what can a person do to help prepare for meltdowns associated with potential stressors? Be supportive of your loved one when they experience an unexpected change in routine. One thing that has always helped me to control but never prevented my meltdowns over changes in routine was adjusting the dose of my antidepressant ahead of time for planned changes in routine and as long as I felt like I needed it, and taking other medications as needed. In the case of unplanned changes, have extra supplies such as flashlights, medicines, and medical equipment, books to read, board games, toys, etc., and do whatever you can to make unpleasant situations easier. 14. Education. True teaching agrees with the good news about the glory of the blessed God. He trusted me with that good news. 1 Timothy 1:11 NIRV. School systems should allow each special needs child's goals should know each special needs child's goals and be willing to help them achieve them. School staff should be willing to work with children on the spectrum at certain times during the school day by helping with homework assignments and be willing to get them reintegrated into regular classroom settings if they are in special education courses. I was enrolled in special education courses in middle school and gradually placed back into regular education classes. Ask for an aide for your child if needed. If your child has an aide, make sure that the aide understands autism. My aide that I had in 3rd grade was amazing, and having her in the classroom helped to boost my grades and self-esteem. Employers and school systems should allow persons with special needs to have accommodations as needed. While I was in school, one of my teachers would not let me out of class if I experienced a meltdown. If I had a meltdown, she would often try to redirect me in ways that did not work for me. If at any time that I was allowed to leave the room when I had a meltdown, I always felt a lot better after the meltdown. In 1 Timothy 1 through 11, the Apostle Paul teaches Timothy about the importance of having a good teacher and learning important lessons about Christianity. Not only was Paul a leader in the development of Christianity, he was also a good teacher and mentor to Timothy, who later succeeded Paul in spreading the gospel. Teachers can have a strong influence on the development of a child, and having effective teachers is one way of helping students with autism to succeed academically. My English teacher in middle school was a good example of an effective teacher that helped to prepare me for academic tasks later in life. I am a strong believer that those with autism deserve the same educational and employment benefits as everyone else does. All schools and colleges should provide free services for students with disabilities to achieve their academic goals and live a productive life. Yes, they have challenges, but when employers and teachers take the time to get to know an autistic person, they will discover that autistic people have talents that normal people do not have, such as diligence, good attention to detail, being able to focus on a specific task for long periods of time, etc. 15. Health matters. So put your hands to work. Strengthen your legs for the journey. Make level paths for your feet to walk on. Then those who have trouble walking won't be disabled. They will be healed. Hebrews 12 and 13 NIRV. There is one thing that we can control when it comes to dealing with autism: taking care of your health. Taking care of your health helps you and your autistic loved one to feel better. When you feel better, it helps to control the symptoms of autism and feel less stressed. Plus, it can minimize chronic health problems later in life for everyone and help to control any comorbid disorders. Autistic people process pain different than other people do. Some are very sensitive to pain, and others have a high pain tolerance. Whenever I would be in pain when I was younger, I would wiggle or pace and get whiny if I were not able to explain the pain. I could always explain other pain easily and describe it to anyone calmly. Normal people get grouchy and irritable when they don't feel well. Listen to people on the autism spectrum if they admit any symptoms, and please take it seriously. They are not hypochondriacs or attention seekers. I dealt with my fair share of issues that are very painful, and it's not easy. Take medications as needed or prescribed, and ask a doctor about adjusting the dose or switching if you notice any side effects. I have taken lots of medicine in my life for anxiety and depression associated with my autism. Some of these medications gave me severe side effects, which made things worse. I currently take a low-dose antidepressant daily for my anxiety and meltdowns. Model and encourage good health habits. Everyone can benefit from the old standby advice that we grew up with. Adding to the classic advice of taking care of your health, I would strongly recommend trying yoga. I have been practicing yoga on and off for years, and I love how I feel after doing a yoga session. There are many different forms of yoga, and in addition to the benefits of other exercises, there are relaxation components to the practice. Follow up with regular medical and dental checkups, and get all recommended screening exams at regular intervals. Yes, these are unpleasant, but if caught early enough, some medical conditions are easier to treat. Females on the spectrum have a different set of challenges. Fluctuations in the menstrual cycle can cause mood swings that intensify or cause meltdowns in autistic women. It always intensified my meltdowns. I suffered from endometriosis, and having a hysterectomy in 2017 reduced my hormonal mood swings and other symptoms of the disorder. One way of predicting potential meltdowns is to keep track of yours or your daughter's menstrual cycle. Keep extra supplies on hand and talk to a doctor about what can be done to manage meltdowns that are worsened by hormonal fluctuations, such as medication adjustments or hormonal therapies. I always took extra doses of my antidepressant when I was menstruating. People on the spectrum need to have access to health care. It can be stressful to overcome the challenges of autism, and this can put people on the autism spectrum at higher than normal risk of developing stress-related health issues. Frequent rest breaks when needed and practicing the traditional health advice has always helped me to feel my best. If your child or loved one develops any unusual patterns or symptoms that last longer than a month, consider getting checked out. No symptom is too small to ignore. Even in autistic loved ones, it's important to find good healthcare providers that care about yours or your loved one's health concerns and helps you to feel validated. Our bodies are temples, and God wants us to take care of our health, and taking care of your loved one's health is important too. 16. Autism training courses. Work at everything you do with all your heart. Work as if you're working for the Lord, not for human masters. Colossians 3:23 NIRV. If they work long enough, anyone who works with the public will encounter people with autism. These types of people include all medical professionals, emergency responders, educational professionals, and mental health professionals. In an emergency, people with autism can be mistaken for someone who is using drugs or doing something else dangerous. If they encounter police, it can be terrifying for them. I got pulled over by a cop one time because someone thought I was drunk. Out of panic and fear of punishment, I reacted unkindly to him, but I did tell him about my autism diagnosis and that I don't use alcoholic drinks. Because autism is the most common developmental disorder, I hope that colleges will require that future students enrolling in nursing, social work, and education take autism training courses as a graduation requirement. People in these career fields will be dealing with special needs people more than any other career field will. If you work in an autism educational setting, discover how each child learns. As teachers, your goal is to help each child achieve his or her potential. Each child is an individual, and educational needs are different for each child. Get to know the child and their families, and if you have any concerns about the child, make arrangements to consult with their parents. If you are a policeman and get a call to see about a situation, and you find that the person you check on is autistic, stay calm and explain why you were there. Inform them that all is well and what to do when encountering the police. Medical professionals are considered to be the experts when dealing with autism. Always listen to your patient's concerns and be as thorough as possible. 17. Friendships. A friend loves at all times. They are there to help when trouble comes. Proverbs 17:17 NIRV. It's good for people to have friends. I always felt better when someone invited me to spend time with them, even though I didn't always show it. Social skills are often forced upon autistic people so much that it can be exhausting, and if they make a social error, other people notice it. Even though I wanted to be social but lacked the skills to do so, I often felt tired and exhausted from keeping up with the social pace of life. If I had friends over or they invited me, I would oftentimes take breaks from socializing and go into another room and do something like read or watch TV until I felt like playing again. Sometimes I even had meltdowns over this. If you need to take a break in a social situation, it's okay. I was taught that cliques are a big deal among teenagers, but I have observed that cliques exist in all walks of life. Adults and children from all religious and socio-economic backgrounds are often reluctant to befriend people with disorders like autism because it represents a threat to social status. Society values social status as a means of earthly success. Social status is not important in God's eyes. Jesus often spoke of the Pharisees in the Gospels. The Pharisees were a group of religious people who often excluded outsiders in social gatherings. They followed religious rules, but were secretly full of unkindness, greed, etc. Older adults that are less socially active are more likely to develop dementia. Since publishing my memoir, Lipstick and Autism, I sell it at various events. One woman who purchased a copy of my book told me that her autistic son, who was in his 50s, already developed dementia, and she feels like it was from a lack of socializing with others. Always ask people on the spectrum if they would like to join you for a specific social outing and be okay with their quirks. Don't force them into the situation or ignore them. If your autistic child or loved one is trying to make friends but seems a bit off, don't worry about it. A good attitude is more important than social quirks. A true friend will like your child regardless of their social quirks of autism. 18. You're not alone. In this world, you will have trouble, but be encouraged. I have won the battle over the world. John 16:33 NIRV. It's normal to feel worried and confused when your loved one receives a diagnosis of autism. When I was old enough to understand my diagnosis, I used to be embarrassed by it, even though I was always open and honest about it. I'm okay with my diagnosis now and don't care what others think when I have a meltdown. I used to feel alone in my diagnosis because I did not know anyone else with the type of autism that I have. My sister told me one time that I was the pioneer of high functioning autism in our area because when I was diagnosed, the condition was considered rare. One of the best things that has happened to me was being able to meet others with autism. It's nice to be able to learn about how others cope with their autism. I would strongly suggest finding others who share your diagnosis of autism. 19. Live each day to the fullest. Don't brag about tomorrow. You don't know what a day will bring. Proverbs 27:1 NIRV. I'm sure you heard this one a lot. I know I have for sure. I think it can apply to dealing with autism too. It's called No Promises for Tomorrow. We get so caught up in the stress of our daily lives that we forget tomorrow is not promised. I helped in the teen Sunday school class for a few years at church, and the teacher always told the kids to be nice because tomorrow is not promised. Let's say that your autistic loved one, that you or your autistic loved one is living your life and going about your day-to-day business, and one day you go in for a routine medical visit and find out they have a life-threatening illness. More than likely, you will probably feel like praying for their lives and forget about the autism. You may even feel guilty over worrying about trivial issues like social quirks. Feeling worried over your child's autism, appreciate the time you spend with them because time is precious. Don't know how to interact with that person who is on the autism spectrum or feel like excluding them? Just go up and talk to them and invite them to hang out and with you and your friends. You will eventually regret it one day if you mistreat them in any way. Feeling embarrassed about your loved one's social quirks, just appreciate their efforts for being present in a social situation, regardless of how they interact. I'm not perfect and have made my fair share of mistakes. I love my family and friends, even though we struggle at times. I'm still learning to appreciate the time that I have with my family. It's also my goal to pursue my special interests as much as possible. If you're having a bad day and feel like saying something negative to anyone on the autism spectrum, remember that tomorrow is not promised for anyone, regardless of how you feel. Compliment your friends and loved ones and tell them that you love them on a daily basis. If your autistic loved one wants to do stuff, let them have fun. Life is short. 20. Holidays. The Lord Himself will give you a son. The virgin is going to have a baby. She will give birth to a son, and he will be called Emmanuel. Isaiah 7:14 NIRV. Holidays are a true source of stress, especially Christmas. More social stuff and pressure to be acceptable for autistic people and for everyone, eating more unhealthy foods than usual, and having to make time for multiple family visits. Young kids feel pressure to behave through the Christmas season to make sure that Santa Claus will bring them plenty of gifts. When Christmas comes, I like the festivities of the season. The theming and traditions of the season make it a fun holiday, even though the social stuff can be stressful. My attention to detail has allowed me to learn ways to save money for expensive holiday gifts on a budget. Are you struggling financially? Take advantage of cashback options, credit card points, saving coins, and researching deals. I've done this, and over a year's time, it can add up. I've noticed other parents, out of frustration over their children misbehaving, telling them that they won't receive any gifts if they misbehave. All kids misbehave. It's part of being kids. It's unrealistic to threaten your autistic child about not getting any birthday or holiday gifts if they act up. Even though I've always received gifts, I felt ashamed and depressed when I got disciplined for a meltdown on holidays. Whether you're having guests in the house or going to someone else's house, try to keep things as routine for your child as possible. Don't worry about feeling like you have to contribute to anything. If your child receives a gift they dislike, it's okay to ask if someone can return it if it does not fit yours or your child's lifestyle. Thank everyone for their efforts for getting a gift. Want to purchase a holiday or birthday gift but don't know what to get someone? Buy gift cards. They're the easiest to get. Want to make a great holiday for your autistic loved one? Talk to them about 2 to 3 months before the occasion about what they would like and research deals on it. Be there for your autistic loved one and do your best to remember the true meaning of holidays. Find simple but fun ways of making holidays brighter for someone less fortunate, like buying gift cards for struggling families. Read both versions of the Christmas story in the Bible. Jesus was sent to be born in the manger on Christmas to take the punishment for our sins on Easter. So instead of worrying about silly stuff about your autistic child, remember that according to Romans 3:23, we have all sinned and fall short of God. 21. Autistic blessings. I will make the disabled people my faithful people. Micah 4:7 NIRV. Autism is a blessing. It took me a long time to realize that autism has blessings. If I didn't have autism, I would not be able to author my memoir or this book. Feel embarrassed about your child's social quirks and meltdowns? When given the right environment, they will thrive in all aspects. Sure, they struggle academically and socially, but they have a lot to author. Consider these good qualities. Even though they struggle academically, they are less likely to get revenge out of anger. Good attention to detail, diligence, good work ethic, and rarely miss work/school despite emotional issues. Good at memorizing facts and details about a situation. If they witness something, they would be better able to explain the situation to the authorities than a normal person would. Fearless about standing up for what they believe in. Justice over fairness. True satisfaction is more important than social status. Too honest to pretend. Driven. 22. Pursue what works for you. Your bodies are a holy sacrifice that is pleasing to God. When you offer your bodies to God, you are worshiping Him in the right way. Romans 12:1 NIRV. Recently, I was at a fair selling my memoir, Lipstick and Autism. While I was there, I came into contact with one of my former counselors. She purchased a copy of the book from me. I told her about what inspired me to write the book, my views on autism, and what worked for me. She said therapists are now helping patients to work with their autism instead of against it. There are different types of therapies for autism spectrum disorders. ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis Therapy, has been a primary treatment of autism since the 1950s. Traditional ABA techniques are used to work against autism. Updated techniques of ABA use techniques of working with autism symptoms and teaching healthy ways of dealing with autism. Working with autism means not to suppress your negative symptoms of the condition and to promote benefits of the condition. There are ways of working with your autism and dealing with it without suppressing your negative symptoms, such as gradually working through symptoms and pursuing what helps you deal with it. If you have sensory symptoms that I described earlier, it's okay to admit you have those feelings and gradually find ways of desensitizing yourself. Pursuing what helps you may be the key to unlocking new and effective treatments for autism. I have read in books where people with other medical conditions had improvements in their symptoms after having tried non-traditional forms of treatment for their symptoms. This has led doctors to do more research on their conditions. Live your life to the fullest and deal with your autism when needed. 23. The power of prayer. Where two or more people gather in my name, I am with them. Matthew 18:20 NIRV. I am a firm believer that prayer can change lives. I always knew about the importance of prayer, but did not practice it regularly until I was a teenager. When I started praying regularly, I prayed that God would help me to be a normal person and to be able to live a normal life. I still get frustrated when my prayers are not answered in the way that I would like. Despite me being misunderstood by others, there were people that prayed for me, and I am thankful for those kind people. Pray for people on the autism spectrum. Prayer is a powerful tool. Your prayers may not be answered immediately or in the way that you want, but God hears them. God knows what you need. When I pray, I always pray for everyone afflicted by any form of autism. I was not offered the life that I wanted, but I live a blessed life. God has put amazing people in my life as a result of my autism, and He has allowed me to use my autism to help others by writing 2 books and giving speeches at our local autism walks. Feeling worried about your autistic loved one? Pray about it. Philippians 4:6. 4. Special interest. We all have gifts. They differ according to the grace God has given each of us. Romans 12:6 NIRV. Embrace your loved one's special interest as long as it's safe to do so. If it's an expensive interest, teach them how to save money on everyday things. Special interest can teach children to be motivated to save money for stuff they want. When children pursue a special interest, they are more likely to lead fulfilling lives. Learn ways of putting your special interest to good use. Your special interest can determine what kind of career you would like to pursue. Yoga is one of my special interests, and I took training to teach it because I considered teaching it once a week for people in our area. My main special interest is roller coasters, and if I were not riding them, I would often talk about riding roller coasters and asking Mom and Dad to take me to amusement parks months ahead of opening times. My mom tried to redirect me into developing other interests too, even though she and Dad took me to the parks. Find others who share your special interests. My dad really likes cars, especially Ford Mustangs and anything else under the Ford brand. He is a member of a local Mustang fan club that meets monthly at a local pizza place to socialize and talk about their cars. I joined a roller coaster fan club and have only gone to a handful of club-sponsored events at parks. When I go to these, I enjoy socializing with other coaster fanatics like myself. Special interests are good as long as they are healthy and the person is happy. If you feel concerned about your child/spouse's special interests, consider these questions. Is the child genuinely happy pursuing his or her special interests, or are they doing it to impress others? 2, is it dangerous in any way? If it's safe and they are pursuing their special interests because they like it, regardless of what others think, be okay with it. 25, put modern technology to good use. There are different kinds of gifts, but they are all given to believers by the same Spirit. 1 Corinthians 12:14 NIRV. Invest in modern day technology and keep your software and apps updated regularly on all smartphones, tablets, and computers, but set limits on social media. Invest in a good pair of Bluetooth headphones to use outside of school/work if your child dislikes doing household chores or for when you travel. This helps me when I have to do household chores and when having trouble sleeping in hotel rooms when we travel. Bluetooth headphones allow you to listen to music, podcasts, and audiobooks, as well as watch movies and videos when they are connected to a tablet, smartphone, or computer. I listen to audiobooks, podcasts, and music when I have to do tasks that I find boring. Because of this, I have been able to listen to many different audiobooks, including the entire Bible and many books about autism. There are many free entertainment apps available. I got a library card from a local library, and with this library, I was able to access an app on my phone and tablet used by many U.S. library systems. With a library app, there are so many free ebooks, audiobooks, movies, music, TV shows, and podcasts that I listen to and download. There are also some good streaming services for listening to music and podcasts that are worth paying for a monthly subscription fee for, such as Spotify, Apple Music for all Apple devices, and Google Play for all non-Apple devices, Amazon Music, etc. With these paid subscriptions, you can download and keep all the stuff that you listen to. 26. Get a pet. Those who do what is right take care of their animals, but the kindest acts of those who do wrong are mean. Proverbs 12:10 NIRV. Pets are great for children on the spectrum. Pets will love their family no matter what. They are non-judgmental. Pets are a great companion and will reduce loneliness brought on by social misunderstandings. Some people like exotic pets, others like traditional pets, like a playful dog or fluffy cat. As for me, I truly love cats and consider them to be my favorite animals. Having cats as pets always made me feel more fulfilled and less lonely. When I'm sitting outside with my cats, I feel relaxed and enjoy petting them. The two biggest drawbacks of being a pet owner are allergies and expensive veterinary bills. I had a hard time dealing with lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I got a new kitten that summer. Having this new kitten to take care of was an answered prayer. I felt like God sent me this new little kitten to take care of as a way of helping me to deal with the disappointment caused by the pandemic. A pet is like a human best friend who will never leave your side. 27. I will make a new heavens and a new earth, and they will last forever, announces the Lord. In the same way, your name and your children after you will last forever. Isaiah 66:22 NIRV. Christians believe that they will live forever in heaven with Jesus if they ask forgiveness and repent of their 27. Genuine happiness is best. I tell you, do not worry. Do not worry about your life and what you will eat or drink. Don't worry about your body and what you will wear. Isn't there more to life than eating? Aren't there more important things for the body than clothes? Matthew 6:25 NIRV. I've witnessed this myself. The world measures people by certain standards. If your child or loved one suffers from the symptoms of autism, but seems to be satisfied with their lives, appreciate it and don't sweat anything. One reason that I get disappointed easily over stuff is because I know that I want to be happy and that we only have one life to live. I feel determined to make the best of my earthly life. There is no reason to work hard at anything during your earthly life and not feel personal happiness at the end of the day. As Christians, the world wants us to put others first and work hard, but I'm a firm believer that for people on the autism spectrum, that we should make plenty of time to enjoy our lives. I was pressured into reacting to what the world considers appropriate and to be happy. If you or a loved one wants to pursue something, let it happen as long as they are happy. This life is like a mist, according to James 1:14, meaning that it doesn't last long, and I want to enjoy every bit of it while I'm still living in my earthly body. 28. There is hope. Our troubles are small. They last only for a short time. Because they are earning for us a glory that will last forever, it is greater than all our troubles. 2 Corinthians 4:17 NIRV. So you or a loved one received a diagnosis of autism. It's okay. You will get through this. Many of the most successful people in the world had autism or showed signs of the disorder. I used to wish for a cure for my condition, but I'm at the point now where I know I will be okay. And compared to other mental health conditions, autism is benign, meaning that it will not progress. There is hope for autism. Services for autism are much better than they were when I was young, and the condition is better understood thanks to autism advocates such as Temple Grandin, autism organizations, and others. The best hope that we have is to live the healthiest life possible and for the world to be more considerate of autism. This is not our true life. Our true life will be in heaven with our Creator. Chapter 29, A Bright Future. I will make new heavens and a new earth, and they will last forever, announces the Lord. In the same way, your name and your children after you will last forever. Isaiah 66:22 NIRV. Christians believe that they will live forever in heaven with Jesus if they ask forgiveness and repent of their sins and allow God into their lives. Christians who are still living at the end of the world will be taken up to heaven at the snap of a finger. Based on my research on autism, it makes sense that those on the spectrum will go to heaven automatically because God understands them better than their family understands them. I remember one time during Sunday school kids class where we talked about that there would be people in heaven that we would not think would make it there, and vice versa. Of course, we don't know what heaven will be like, but we do know that everything will be perfect. All of the troubles that we experience on earth will be non existent. Feeling stressed about your autistic loved one? They have a bright future awaiting them in heaven. Jesus told his followers that many who are first now will be last, and many who are last now will be first. 30. You are awesome. If you're feeling embarrassed or worried about yourself or your autistic loved one, remember this acronym that I made up. Awesome, unique, talented, interesting, smart, and magnificent. Endnotes. Blessed is the person who keeps on going when times are hard. After they have come through hard times, this person will receive a crown. The crown is life itself. The Lord has promised it to those who love him. James 1:12 NIRV. I hope you enjoyed this book and that I provided insights on helping others with autism. There have been many times in my life where I felt like giving up and quitting when I struggled with hard times. I felt tempted to skip class when I was a child, to get away from the pressures of school, and to drop out of college when I was not able to be admitted into the programs that I wanted to pursue. I wanted to author a book on my life story for as long as I could remember. After graduating from high school in 1999 and struggling to find the right career path for me and not wanting to give up, I finally found my calling when I published my memoir, Lipstick and Autism, in September 2023. It's my goal to break down the barriers of autism by sharing my experiences and authoring books to create understanding and a better life for those with autism. With proper support and understanding of the disorder, people with autism can live a productive life. Lipstick is my favorite cosmetic item to wear, and I like bright colors. My love of lipstick gave me the idea to name my memoir Lipstick and Autism. Since I'm not ashamed of wearing bright colored lipstick, I have decided to not be ashamed of my autism. I've decided to wear my lipstick and flaunt the positives of autism. My new motto is put on your lipstick and flaunt your autism because you're awesome. God loves you very much, and autism is nothing to be ashamed of. Autism makes you special, and because of autism, you have talents that others lack. The next time that you feel frustrated by your child's autism, think about the benefits of autism and remember that it makes the world a better place. Okay, here is the back of the book. So far, what I've got written now. It's not easy being on the autism spectrum. Lauren Ratcliffe understands this well. She was diagnosed on the autism spectrum when it was not well understood. God never intended for anything to be hard for anyone. Unfortunately, autism is still misunderstood despite awareness of it. God loves everyone, and as Christians, He wants us to love others and minister to them, even those who are difficult to deal with. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder that is present from birth. Want to learn more about dealing with autism from a Christian perspective and a patient perspective? In this book, you will find ways to destigmatize autism and appreciate those who have it. Now, here's my about the author paragraph. This is Lauren Ratcliffe's second book. She is also the author of the memoir Lipstick and Autism. Lauren has experienced many of the same struggles as others with high-functioning autism. Lauren is a Christian autism advocate and believes in letting others know how it feels to be autistic. Her motto is breaking through autistic minds, one book at a time. She enjoys her niece and nephew who live nearby, her cats, reading, exercising, and in the summertime, roller coasters.